So you weren't going to put up with that either, were you?
Put up with what?
Well, what is it that we're talking about here?
Which part put up with?
Were you going to put up with what we just talked about? Are you having problems understanding again what's going on?
Sometimes, because you go in circles.
Wow. Sex lies and contradiction. The Jodi Arias trial is full of it. The prosecutor turned up the heat on Jodi this week. Was it enough to sway the jury? Criminal defense attorney Joey Jackson is here. Now, despite the inconsistencies in her story, Jodi has been defiant, going back and forth with the prosecutor, but she broke down this week during cross-examination. Let's listen to that.
And were you crying when you were shooting him?
I don't remember.
Were you crying when you were stabbing him?
I don't remember.
How about when you cut his throat? Were you crying then?
I don't know.
Joey, do you think the jury had any sympathy for moments like that?
Not at all. You
No.
know what, Rochelle? All along, it was this cat-mouse game. She seemed to be enjoying this cross-examination because she can challenge him and everything else. But I really think towards the end, he wore her down. And he really broke her by focusing on the critical issue of the murder itself, by making the story implausible, unlikely, and unbelievable. And when he got to that and was hitting her with questions which showed that, you know what, it really couldn't have happened the way you described it, it really got to her, shook her, and I think the jury got to learn the truth.
And let's talk about the truth. Let's talk about what's believable and what's not. She changed her story so many times. First, I wasn't there, then I was there, then it's intruders, and then it's self-defense. That makes it very difficult for a jury to believe her, does it not?
Oh, absolutely, because credibility is at issue. And remember what her defense is, as you just described, Michelle, self-defense this is. But how do you say self-defense given the nature of this killing? The slashing of the neck, the 29 stabs in the back, the shooting in the face. And so therefore, I think when you take all of that together and you look at her lies and contradictions, and she besmirches Travis's character. He's a sexual deviant. He likes little boys. You know, everything she could say about him. He mistreated me. He abused me. It calls all of that into question and makes her defense unlikely.
What do you think were some of the biggest victories for the prosecution in the last few days?
I think ultimately getting her to admit on direct examination, Rochelle, she couldn't remember. Well, let me clarify. She remembered those things that assisted her, took us through every boyfriend and how they treated her, took us through the relationship with Travis, and then after the killing, took us through a whole series of other events after the fact. But during the killing, I don't remember shooting him. I don't remember stabbing him. I don't remember anything. So she had selective amnesia as to those issues. The prosecution, however, in his cross, honed in and focused on what she did, and she had to admit, yes, I stabbed him. Yes, I cut his throat. I shot him. And so those admissions during his cross-examination, critical at holding her accountable.
Each day is more dramatic than the day before.
Oh, it certainly is. This is the trial of the century. And, you know, she was on the stand for a significant amount of time. Some were wondering whether it was too long. But I think he brought it home, that being Juan Martinez in his closing day, to make it ensured, in my view, that, you know what, she recognizes that she's guilty. I think she broke down as a result of that, and I think the jury sees that.
Joey Jackson, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
HLN has been following every step of this case. Watch live coverage of the trial on Monday starting at noon Eastern.